Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. Happy New Year and welcome to another weekly study. Today we are going to talk about how to progress from the preparation stage into the action stage in the stages of change model. If you remember, this is coming from module 5, it's lesson 1, where we talk about the stages of change model. And of course, module 5 is on lifestyle modification, behavior change, and all of the elements that go into that. Arguably, I would say that the stages of change model is the single most important model that is being used, particularly in the fitness, wellness, health industry. It's just very easy to deal with, very easy to understand particular stages that an individual is in. And so for the most part, when you go through the BDU materials, obviously, and then when you look at NASM and or ACE, whichever course you're going to take after the BDU materials, you're going to find that they speak, for the most part, mainly to the stages of change model. Pretty straightforward. By the way, if you're interested in actually looking up and learning more about it from the actual folks that put it together in the psychological community, it's really very, very interesting. Again, from our perspective, we look at it as the five different stages. Sometimes it's 6, depending on who you're talking to. The 6th stage, by the way, even though we don't go into it, is simply after maintenance. Some folks call it the termination stage, where the habit, the behavior, excuse me, not habit, but the behavior that has been changed to has now become, after maintenance, has become so indelibly grained into your lifestyle that it now becomes habitual, or what we know actually to be a very strong routine. Remember, there's a difference between habits and routines, but you can call it, and I would put quotes around it, habitual behavior. So we talk about the 5 stages of change. And by the way, there you go, progressing from preparation to action, which is generally what you're going to see as a trainer. Just keep in mind, when all is said and done, we look at this from the perspective of our business model. When we're talking to clients, they come in for a free info session. Where are they at? It helps to know their personality profile, which you learned in module 4. And then it's helpful to know where they're at with the stages of change, because even though they may have an A-type personality or a D or whatever the case is, they may still not be really ready to step into that action stage. So that's kind of what we want to kind of go over here as we look at the stages of change model. I'll give you a real quick review of the 5 stages. There's the pre-contemplation. I'm not interested in exercising. I don't care about exercising. I like the way I eat. I like to imbibe in drinks and food and whatever I want. For the most part, I have no interest in changing my behavior when it comes to exercise and nutrition. There is your pre-contemplative individual. They're not even contemplating, hence the term pre-contemplative. What changes? Usually it's medical. Somebody has a heart attack, somebody has a stroke. Doctor basically says you've got high blood pressure, you're going to die of a heart attack if you don't make some changes to your lifestyle. And that could lead a person to move into what's known as contemplation. At least they're thinking about it now. Some of the terminology will change, their verbiage, their method of conversing about the behavior change and exercise and nutrition. It's normally like, yeah, I'm actually starting to consider making a change. It would be really cool if I could, get back on track. I'm going to wait until New Year's and join a health club. And that's a contemplation type of verbiage. Individuals that are moving through these psychological constructs, contemplation becomes that point where there's a sort of an intermediary gray area for individuals if they are moving ultimately towards making behavior change. And that sort of intermediary psychological construct is what we call the preparation stage. When somebody actually shifts from not thinking about it to actually thinking about it, that's really good. I mean, that's really important. People start to contemplate, yeah, maybe I should I've been thinking about it a long time, blah, blah, blah. Well, now they start to move into this preparatory phase where for the most part, they start asking questions and the conversational part of it, both in their head and with other people, starts to change to more of a preparatory phase, hence the term preparation. Just keep in mind, preparation stage can last 2 hours. It can last 2 minutes. It could last 2 years. Now, technically, I'm not sure that's preparation. It's probably still contemplation, but you get the idea is that there's different time frames, different lengths, and it also depends on the behavior. If I'll give you a great example. You worked out in high school and college, and now you haven't worked out for 30 years. Well, for an individual to go from not working out in 30 years, but having had some experience to now actually doing it, it might not take that long. That preparation stage might only be long enough for them to go, I think it's a good time to start training, contemplation. Probably a good idea to get back into exercising. Man, I'd love to, maybe I'll just join a gym. Where should I join? Maybe I'll just go to this gym. Or now they're in preparation. They're actually planning. They're getting into that preparatory phase to start the action itself. That could literally take an hour, or it could be them driving down the road and they go, you know what? Yeah, let me just go ahead and do it. And that's the preparation stage of the stages change model. Preparation obviously leads into the action stage. Of course, the question is how do we get people to move from preparation, jump over the cliff into action and actually get it going? And that's what we're going to talk about here in the next slide. Action ultimately leads to, after, it depends on who you talk to, could be 6 months, could be 3 months, could be a year, but generally the cutoff time to move from the action stage of behavioral change to maintenance is generally 6 months. It could be from 3 to 6. Again, depends on the person, depends on the type of behavior change. What we do know from a nutrition perspective is that it takes a couple of months, at least minimum of 3, 4, upwards of 6 months for folks to really get the nutrition dialed in. From the exercise perspective, some folks, once they get into the routine within 30 days, they're done. They're good to go. Now, if we can hold that for 6 months and a year and it becomes a part of their life, then they would ultimately move into that, what we would call the sixth, if you wanted to use a sixth stage, this termination stage, where the behavior is essentially a common, well-established routine, what some people call a habit. Technically, it's not a habit. Just keep in mind, not all behaviors become habits, by the way. Just because it becomes habitual, that's more of a routine. You can read about that, of course, more in the course itself. Ultimately, the preparation stage is a time for people to start planning, getting ready. Just because a person says they're ready to train, just because they say these things, talking about it is not the same as being in the preparation stage. Preparation stage, in some cases, actually people stop talking about it. So in the contemplation stage, they'll be talking about, yeah, I really would love to do what I would like to do, blah, 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 blah. Whereas in the preparation stage, what ends up happening is folks actually start to talk less, because now they're thinking, now they're getting into it. And this can make a huge change for the trainer. This is where the trainer can actually start to realize, you know what? This individual actually is getting ready to move into the action stage. Now, where do we see that? That's what I'm going to go over with you. By the way, keep in mind, preparation stage is where people generally start to resolve their ambivalence towards the behavior or the person, whatever it is. Remember, ambivalence. Ambivalence is it's a psychological construct that people are in. They have these simultaneous contradictory feelings about things, people, activities, behaviors. I love to exercise, but I hate to exercise. And that causes people to get stuck psychologically. And that's why ambivalence is such a huge problem when it comes to health and wellness and lifestyle behavior modifications towards more healthy type of lifestyle, eating well and exercising because I want to, but I don't want to. I know I should be doing this, but I don't want to do it. And what ends up happening, as we'll see, is that your emotions get the better of you. Logically, I should have self-control, self-restraint, willpower, all these things. But boy, something inside of me just makes me want to eat that donut, makes me want to not go to the gym and sit down and watch TV. Obviously it's a problem, but during the preparation stage, as people move towards action, they start to resolve their ambivalence. A lot of the verbiage starts to sound like this: I've got to do something, right? They're contemplating, but now they actually start to either say it out loud or they think it in their head. I really got to do something. I'm going to go online and look for a gym, or I'm going to call up and find out about personal training, whatever the case is, but I've got to do something. We see a lot of this in different ways, shape, and form, this similar type of verbiage. I'm ready to start. I might tell my wife, hey, honey, I'm ready to get started. Would you come with me to the gym? Let's sign up together. Or, I'm ready to go ahead and knock out this diet stuff. Let's go ahead and clear everything out of the fridge and start buying it, right? That's preparation. That's actually getting prepared for the new action or the change in behaviors that we're looking to help folks with. I need help. Again, this is some more verbiage. Again, not everybody says this out loud. They start to say it, and you probably are familiar with this yourself. You start thinking to yourself, man, I need help with this now. How am I going to do this? Where should I go? What should I do? I need help deciding on the best trainer, yada, yada. This is generally what we'll see in the preparation stage. I'm not sure how to do this, but I want to do it. And so how do I do that? These are the things that this is type of verbiage that you might hear folks speaking about. Some folks, by the way, that are in the preparation stage, remember, it's psychological. Preparation is not a behavior that you are doing. People can actually we see this all the time. People in the preparation stage get in a health club membership, and some of them don't even go. Look, I ran a wellness center for many years. January, we sold a ton of memberships, even all through into February. We sold a ton of memberships. There are some folks never even showed up for a first workout. They were still in contemplation. They never should have signed up for a health club membership. It's a disaster for some folks. Just because I just started training, or I bought a video or I'm looking at YouTube videos for yoga and all this other stuff. That's great. Okay. As long as you're now going to move into the action stage. Well, I am taking action. No. Preparation is mental. You're not thinking long-term. That's where the action stage comes in. Assistance into the action stage occurs generally during a free info session. You learn this in module 4. And if you haven't gotten there yet, of course, you'll get there. But during the free info session is where we tend to now help people move from this preparatory scenario psychologically into the action. And that's what the sales process basically does. We're giving people options. We're showing them an easy, low barrier to entry type of scenario. Here's what we offer. Here's what we can do, yada, yada. And that should help them into the action stage itself. Remember, you're not moving. This is one of the reasons why you don't tell people on the phone. You're not moving people into the action stage on the phone, because when they're asking you, well, how much does it cost? What can you do? We'll answer all of that during the free info session. Get them in, get them face to face and talk to them like that. That's generally going to be your best way to do it. The action stage itself is where the change obviously has occurred, but we got to move into a long-term commitment. Once an individual has been doing the action for, again, we talk about 6 months of consistency. It doesn't mean they make every workout. Doesn't mean they get every meal preparation scenario perfect. It simply means that they're in this process for at least 6 months. And once they do that, then they move into the maintenance phase, obviously. But getting them from preparation into action is the key. And the idea is that some folks, like I said earlier, move from contemplation. They're just, what's the word? They're just excited and they just go, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not sure why I'm doing it, but I'm going to go and buy a health club membership, or I'm just going to buy some personal training sessions, or whatever the case is. When people move from contemplation and just bypass the preparation stage, it usually doesn't last long. That's what we see in January and February at health clubs. People move from contemplation and then they psychologically skip over the preparation stage. They have no plan of action. They have no idea what they're doing. Health clubs are generally going to be a challenge. Why? Because they don't provide the same assistance that personal trainers do. At least with a personal trainer, if you move into from contemplation and you go, yeah, I'm going to buy a month's worth, I'm going to do whatever the case is, at least a trainer now can guide and assist and help and kind of retro the preparatory stage. Even though they're in action, they're not thinking long-term. Now, I, as the trainer, can provide this sort of retroactive preparation stage, I guess you would say, that you're generally not going to get at a health club. Okay. So just be aware of the action stage. Yes, I'll do the 3-day week. Well, that's fantastic. But if they're coming straight from the contemplation stage, you don't know, 30 days out, even 2 weeks out, buyer's remorse. Well, I wasn't really thinking about the timing and the scheduling. Well, that's what the preparation stage is for. I want to do it. I'm going to do it. And now preparatory phase is, let me think about how I need to go about doing this. Well, I know now I'm going to take 3 days a week to do this. I'm going to start my nutrition, blah, blah, blah. Now I go to a trainer and now I can help you in that action stage. And that's kind of the idea. That's why you got to beware if somebody did come from contemplation into action. Your job as the trainer is to help and assist, almost retroactive preparation. Well, now let's talk about scheduling. Let's talk about meal prep. Let's talk about those things that are going to help you to be successful. Of course, always focus on consistency. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no magic to this. There never was. And as far as I can tell, there never will be. It is consistency. Help your clients, consistency, and help them get results. It is results that will keep people in the action stage all the way into maintenance. If you don't get people results, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. So you got to be on top of people. You got to be consistent. They've got to make it into the workouts. They've got to maintain and move and progress through the nutrition component. Okay, so results, if you don't get results with folks, it's a toss-up. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not going to stay with you and train with you, but it just is going to reduce your retention. Okay, and then of course, last but not least is work with their motivation. I guess I should have bolded the word there. It's their motivation. What is motivating them? That's what gets them from preparation into action and continues moving them forward towards maintenance. So when people are preparing, they already have sort of this idea of where they want to go. Why are they doing this? Well, I got to get my blood pressure down. I've got to, whatever, maybe it's a health issue. I got to lose a couple of inches on well, that's their motivation. Focus on that. It's one of the things we always talk about in the real world of training. When people walk in, what was their motivation? Hey, John, good to see you. Let's go ahead and help you lose 10 pounds. And John's going, I don't want to lose 10 pounds. That was never my goal. I just wanted to A, B, C, D. Make sure that when John and Mary and Bob and Ted, when they walk in to the club every time, ask them about their nutrition. First and foremost, right? You always ask how they did that day on their meal plan. And then, of course, you're going to access what it was that motivated them and continues to motivate them to exercise properly and eat well. So that's the action stage. Again, in one respect, the maintenance, and then ultimately, if you wanted to say termination, those are all just manifestations of the preparatory phase moving into action. That key movement, that key step from not doing something, right, to actually thinking about doing something, to now actively planning on doing that and then doing it is critical. And that's what we do as trainers every single day, every workout. Okay, is you are there to provide the motivation for your clients and helping them. So once they get that action stage, okay, they're moving slowly but surely to maintenance without them reverting back. There's where the consistency comes in. I hope that this was helpful. Remember, module 5, if lesson 1, that's where this was. If you have any questions, remember to talk to your admissions person. Number 1, you can do that. More importantly, you can talk to your success coach if you have any questions on the materials itself. So just keep that in mind. Corey and I do a Q&A every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Leave your questions in the Facebook group. Just let us know how we can help you out. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.